attend a very low-key artist talk, I'm gonna do that now. So please join, get close. This is pretty informal, so I don't have it like pre-written. This is more of a discussion, so I'm gonna talk to you guys about my process and my background. I will talk about my newest work, which like, I'm in love with this frame. And I'll talk about what I'm going to be doing in the future, merging art and science. My whole goal is to do a perfect fusion of art and science for increasing like access to science education. And I'll also talk about the catalog of planned works, which I release the catalog of planned works usually twice a year, but this year just once because school is a lot. And if you want to look through them, we have some copies here. Put them so you guys don't feel like you have to stand in front of a camera. There's some from you guys. These are pieces that I plan on making this year. And so if you are here because you're interested in getting an original, I don't do commissions anymore, like the normal way of someone says, like, hey, draw me my niece. Because my pieces just take so long, there's so much research, the research alone takes anywhere from 3 months to a year to complete. So as a way for me to be able to focus on my work, my research, my school, and be able to actually create pieces in a reasonable time, I've done this instead. So everything that's in the catalog, those are things that I've already done the research for. I already have all the math and science ready for it. That's actually 90% of my work is research. And the drawing itself takes me at least 100 hours, so if you consider that a lot of time. So if you're looking through the catalog and you find something that you love, and like, I would actually love an anatomical drawing of a rock climber, please, you can choose your size and then pre-order it. I'm limiting my pre-orders to 3 pieces, and we've just reserved one of them. I'm very excited about it. We did, and I can do more than one of this concept. So you'll notice that the focus is all birds and bodies. And that's 2 things that I love, and I'll tell you more about that in a second. I also, by the way, just so you know, I'm an ADHDer, and I'm gonna jump around like crazy. So the piece that's been ordered is a numbers and illustration of a bird in flight. It's a, I know, and it's a hummingbird, and so we get to, I know, and so we get to talk about the amazing anatomy and morphology that allows for their incredible flight. And I have already the physics because I took ornithology for that, so that piece has been reserved. If you would like a bird in flight, I'd be delighted, but it's not hummingbird, I'm already doing that, so any other bird. And with the bird series, you can choose any species you like. And if you're looking at the musculoskeletal series, which is another thing that I'm focusing on, then you can look at some of the pieces I have ideas for, or you can just talk to me about basically anything, as long as it's musculoskeletal, I'd consider it. Now I'm going to talk about who I am now that I've given you all that information. So is there anybody here who's never seen my work before, who's never met me before? Yes, awesome. Hi, I'm Sienna.
Hello, I'm Joyce.
Welcome, Joyce. So this is my art studio. I am a scientific artist and a biologist. I don't have my tag. I have a name tag. They're officially calling me a biologist now, which is very exciting. So thank you. Which has been a dream come true. So I actually, so if you look close in my pieces, there's some magnifying glasses around. Every single mark in all of my drawings is a number or an equation. I draw them by hand, and the numbers that I use are specific to the piece. The idea is to reveal the underlying story of the subject, drawn with data that explains how it functions. And for me, this serves a multiple, I was gonna say dual purpose, but it's a whole lifestyle thing, so it's more than just 2. Could I have a little thing, like a stool? There's a stool right there. So I started drawing with numbers and equations because it's soothing. Thank you, Faith. Thank you. Am I still on the how much can I move? Okay, so I move a lot.
All the way to the door and back.
Yay! So I am neurodivergent, and I'm learning more and more exactly how neurodivergent I am. Early on, I found that drawing with numbers helped me. it was soothing. And it wasn't until recently that I figured out just how much it works for me. And Faith, every now and then, can you just make sure it's still recording? Thank you. So I started doing it because it reduced my anxiety. And I described it as drawing, thousands of tiny numbers, and at the time it was just the numbers of the clock 1 through 12, helped focus me on the present. And it helped reduce my anxiety and thinking about everything else. And then 2 years later, I started drawing with scientific data as a way to help me learn. And so I would study science my own. I had no background in math or science. Math is actually really stressful for me. The idea of doing math in front of someone was a certain kind of horror show for me. I still don't actually like doing that. I love doing math, but it's not performative for me. Anyway, I realized recently one of the reasons why I love numbers and why it's soothing is I count in my head constantly. And I never thought of that because you just do it all the time. I've recently been diagnosed autistic, to brothers, to no one else but me. But I just recently put this in context, so I'm sharing with you. But I usually start counting in a situation where it makes sense, I think. Like a normal, like I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it might be like counting my steps. And then if I'm especially stressed out, I'll just keep counting. And it's just in the background, and it doesn't stop. And it usually tells me if I'm having a hard time when I just, I sleep and I dream count, and I wake up and I count, and you can't stop it. Will you please? The other week I started, you get a song stuck in your head. That song became counting. And so I had a song stuck in my head, and it was, anyway, so I'm sharing so much. Thank you guys for listening. So the reason why I'm sharing that is to share that this isn't something I do. This is my life. So when the pieces that I create, the research, this is an immersive experience for me. And so when people ask me questions like how long does a piece take, it's impossible to answer because of how immersive it is. Okay, another thing I wanted to say is this is formal. So if you have questions, just ask them. If you want to raise your hand, I like raising my hand because I'm a student. Feel free to raise your hand. If you just have a question, just call it out, and I'm happy to answer your questions. I invite them, actually. Okay, so I'm a scientific artist. I had no background in math or science, and I found that drawing with the numbers and equations in these sort of pretty places helped reduce that stress of math for me. So it helped reopen the door to science. I always loved science. I've always been a big nerd. School was my happy place, but math was not. Pocket, is someone there?
It's just out.
So over time, the more I drew with numbers and equations, the more comfortable I got with mathematics and science, and it allowed me to actually address an unrealized dream of mine, which was going to school and pursuing a degree in science. And I'm 2 terms away from getting my bachelor's of science in biology. Woo! 4.0 student, by the way, the entire time. That's not at all posed a problem for my life. It has. Turns out you can't do 100% in everything in your life and be okay. What was I saying? Anybody? What was my thread?
Math and science were not your thing, and this was your safe haven.
Yes. Okay, so, and I will get there. You guys are very patient. So now I'm in school. I'm studying biology at Portland State University, and my goal now. So originally it was a way for me to learn science as someone on the outside, and to feel like not an imposter, which I don't actually feel like an imposter anymore. So it's pretty wonderful. And now my goal is to work on merging art and science in such a way that invites everyone to the table, and can be a gateway for people to consider that they might actually have a place in the scientific community. People who are told from the moment they are born that they don't belong there. And they're told in big ways and small ways. And so primarily focusing on women, femmes, thems, queer people, BIPOC, basically trying to invite a diverse population and a diverse brain, neuroatypical folks to join in the academic and scientific community. Really matters to me. So then the goal is trying to find a way to show that art and science it's fun, it's accessible, and it's effective. And so I haven't quite figured out how to show that it's effective, but it's been effective for me. I really do learn a lot by doing this process, and it stays with me. There's neuroscience I will not stop talking. There's neuroscience that backs up that my process works. So, and I can tell you why. So, anytime you learn something, if you don't try to remember it, you will lose 60% of what you have learned. So if you're just like, I'm gonna listen to that lecture and I'm gonna walk away, 60% of that is gone. If you don't practice it. And there are ways to make it so if it's something you care about and you want to hold that, because a lot of this takes a lot of work to learn, there are certain things you can do. Pocket, is that your cookie? Let me see your cookie. Thank you, Pocket. Thank you. So there are a few things that can help increase your memory, and most of it has to do with associating it to you on a personal level. So build a model that uses another part of your brain and your body. Teach someone something is one of the most effective things, and I tend to do that. This actually what I'm doing now when I share my art with the public in art markets or whatever, I'm teaching them each time, so it's reinforcing it. Creating something new. There are a couple others, but one of the most powerful forms of memory is emotional memory, which can sometimes be a problem with things like PTSD. But it can also be a resource and a tool, and creating artwork is inherently an emotional experience. And so, this work is actually emotional and spiritual for me. And so it's a profound process. So you make it yours. And so this is my way of making these concepts mine, because I want to keep them and share them. And so part of my goals is to find a way to share that with others so that they can access it on their own. So there's that. I'm gonna pause to see if anyone has any questions or comments. And I'm gonna drink this water so you have a moment to think about that.
Very curious what inspires, some of the more human body pieces.
That's a very good question. And that's perfect for talking about what I'm currently doing. So I love the human body. I actually love comparative vertebrate anatomy, which I found out during school. So studying vertebrate anatomy from different animals, not just our own. My process is founded on the desire to see the world and understand the underlying function. And it's kind of similar to like fantasy books where, so this is gonna sound really silly, but like mages will like give you their fake name, and if you have their real name, you have like power. And I feel like we have the way we engage with the world, and then there's its true name. And its true name and its true essence and what it is, I find that you can get closer to it by understanding the underlying function through like physics and chemistry. And so that's what that is for me, is getting closer to like the real nature of the universe and our place in it. That's how it's a spiritual process for me. And I love that with the body. And so like when you're studying anatomy and physiology and you're watching people move around, nerds like me, we're looking at your insides. Like in our brain, I'm imagining your body moving, and it's a whole thing. I find it beautiful, and the thing that you brought up is I'm currently one of 10 undergraduates that are dissecting 4 human donors for the Anatomy and Physiology series at Portland State, and it's a high honor. It's a high honor. So one, it's a dream come true. I've always wanted to do that. 2, and I get really emotional when I think about this, but those 4 people have given us the biggest gift that I can imagine giving someone. They gave us their life's vessel for the purpose of us learning about how the body functions. So because we have a bunch of baby doctors in A&P, so that they can learn how to help people. And then they trusted me to do a good job in dissecting them so people can learn. So that's what I'm doing now. That's in the catalog of planned works, by the way. So I've been given access to, in addition to dissecting these bodies, I also have access to drawing them. So I'll be in there with a sketchbook, and I'm so excited about it. And I'll be able to create more informed anatomy and physiology drawings. And I'll tell you right now, the diagrams are wrong. And it's amazing to see the body there, and you can read the body, you can see how they lived. If you understand anatomy, physiology, chemistry, and stuff like that well enough, there's a memory of your life in your body and how you hold it and what you do. Anyway, I feel like I'm going on for a really long time.
It was fascinating.
Really? Am I talking for too long?
No,
Okay, thank you.
This is great.
I tend to go on. Okay, my goal is, one of the things I wanted to do is share with you this new piece, which the owner of this new piece is here. And this is the first time they've seen this piece. So this is, I'm gonna take a moment. This is the beginning of a whole new story, just so you know, you're in for it. So 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I think I heard about this whale and was inspired to draw it. And I'm grateful that it took me so long to get around to it, because my perspective of this whale changed in that time. So you may have heard of the lonely whale. Has anybody here heard of the lonely whale? I'm seeing a head nod, yes. So the lonely whale is a whale, a baleen whale, that sings at a higher frequency than any other baleen whale. And we don't know why. His preferred hertz frequency, the center frequency, is 52 hertz. And no other whale sings like that. People used to think that because he sang that high, none of the whales could hear him. That's not true. It's within their auditory range, but it's not in the frequency range they normally sing. And so our culture's response, there's been art made of this, there's been music, there's been documentaries. If you look up the lonely whale, it inspired probably thousands of people. And the thing that called to them was that he was lonely. And that got me with where I was at the time as well. My original concept for the name for this was 52 hertz, spelled H-U-R-T-S. And that was coming from, I struggled with loneliness and isolation for a really long time. And then during the pandemic, it felt more powerful. And I really wanted to capture that essence of how separated we felt. And I felt like we all were experiencing loneliness, including people who never had before, which I think it was probably the hardest for them, because they didn't have the skills and resilience for it. But then, within my study of animal behavior and the brain and science in general, I realized that I think we're wrong that he's lonely. At least we don't know. You can't say he's lonely. I don't know that he's lonely. And I don't think anyone could actually say that, because we don't understand. All I know is he's different. And because he's different, we know he's there. And scientifically it's incredible, because he sings at a higher frequency. We've been able to track this one individual whale for over 30 years. And to put that in context, about the longest that I know of that we've tracked one individual whale, it's like 30 minutes. Because they don't stand out against, the vastness of the ocean and all the other noises going on, let alone the other baleen whales. So because he is unique, we've been able to learn a lot and track him. And I think it's important that he sings his song. And then this is the part this is what it really means to me, this piece. I do not know if I'm going to be able to get through this without crying.
You got it.
Thank you. I think that it says a lot about our culture that when we learn about an individual being different, we assume that they are lonely. We assume that they are alone. And what that says is that we assume that if you are different, our culture will reject you. And you will be alone. And you will not have those rich connections that we want. And I think that's fundamentally wrong. Because the cool thing that happens by singing your song is you find the other people who sing like you or who love your song. Like the only way I think to live an authentic life and a life worth being here for, and to find those connections, those relationships that like define your life, is by being you and by no longer masking, which is hard to do because our culture isn't set up for that. So I'm celebrating the lovely whale is what I call him. I call him the lovely whale. And if you look through him, you will find that I've written that. And I say, lovely whale, sing your song. And for me, it's an icon. Because, you know, when I think about the people who are incredible, that hide who they are, it's just such a loss to all of us. That we don't get to know them. We don't get to know what they would give the world if they felt that they'd be accepted. And that could be profound in like personal ways, with relationships with people that you never would really know. And it can be profound with how they would affect our culture and our community. We benefit a lot from it. And I also think that we are fundamentally wrong about what normal is. I don't think that our idea of typical and neuroatypical is correct. I think that the neurotypical brain functions best within our corporate system. It doesn't talk about whether or not it is the most common or the most healthy or the best. It's just the one that works with the system. And this is one system. And I'll tell you, it's not the best system. And it is not useful to compare yourself to or value yourself by. And so it is wrong and harmful, is how I see it. That is my soapbox. And I guess my hope with this piece is that when people see it and read the story, they can feel that resonate a little bit and just maybe practice a little bit of taking off that mask in whatever that way means, whatever that means for you. And to, you know, live an authentic life knowing that someone there wants to hear your song. And it takes a lot of courage. It is scary, but it is worth it. And I can tell you, I'm doing that right now, and it is. I feel like I am finally living my life, and it is a wonderful experience. I invite you for that journey. And if you are on that journey and you want to chat about it, I will have that conversation with you. I will hold that messiness with you, and it's worth it. So that is, I think, the end of my talk. Is it still recording? Wait, not yet. Almost. I'm just maybe. Yeah. Go ahead.